Been through them trenches, been in that dungeon. It's amazing I'm able to still function with the dirt from the prisons that I was buried in. Plus the weight of the world I'm now carrying. But I gotta keep fighting, I can't stop now. For the sisters and brothers that still locked down. For the people that's battling heavy mind wars. In the darkest of hours is when I shine more. Victory is all I see, I'm so locked in. Cause going back in that box is not an option. So I grind all the time, that's my mind state. The sublime intertwined with divine fate. It's whatever for the fam, that's how I'm structured. So when the road gets tough, I get tougher. Some fake, some folded, some fronted. But not me, all I can be is 100. Some fake, some folded, some fronted. But not me, all I can be is 100. 100. 100. All I can be is 100. 100. 100. All I can be is 100. Welcome to the 100 TV.
What's going on, world? Sorry for the delay. This is live. Welcome to the 100 TV. If you don't know, but hopefully you do, this is where we talk about all things real, and most definitely we keep it 100. Already, shout out to Sabir. We already got people in the room, man. He says, "Peace, Hank the Bank, aka Chi-Town." This is definitely a Chicago thing tonight, man.
Yes.
And he also said, "Appreciate your tutelage on the inside." He kind of already gave a spoiler alert. If you know about this channel, you know about this page. It's about all things, but the basis and foundation of it was and is incarceration, mental health, things of that nature. When you look at my story and what I went through, my background in incarceration, doing approximately 17 years behind the wall, I met a few people. Most of the people I met were wearing prison blues like myself. But once in a while, a few of the people I was able to interact with, have some conversations with, and at times I would even say form some friendships with, we're going home every day at a certain time. And that's why this one's special, man. I'm glad to always have people that I know, people that influence my path, etc. And especially because he's from the hometown, man. I know him, known him for some years, but I'm going to go ahead and allow him to introduce himself as he should, man, to the world. Peace. How you doing, man? Introduce yourself.
I'm all right, man. How you been, man? Those that don't know, I'm a retired counselor from the Department of Corrections. But before that, way back when, I spent a little time behind some bars myself. You know what I mean? And so I kind of got a lot of training, both inside and outside. But it was a pleasure meeting gentlemen like yourself, man. Like we was talking before the show, you know, people that already had a foundation. So the only thing they had to do was build on from what they already had. So thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, I mean, I want to go straight into it. We got a couple of different perspectives about incarceration. And we're not just going to talk about that today, but that's what I want to hit first, man. I want to talk about prison. I want to talk about perspectives. I want to talk about how two people can be looking at the same picture but see something different. At the time, specifically, during my incarceration, I was on St. Bride's Correctional Center. It was a level 2 in Tidewater. Met a lot of good people there, actually. It was a crazy spot for a level 2. It was kind of like a level 4 on a level 2, because a lot of us that were up there had worked our way down. A lot of guys that were up there had names for themselves. And then the youngins that were coming up there, they was from the area and they was turned up. So I remember, I'm gonna go straight into this memory, and I want to see if you remember this because you were one of the real ones. Hank, you just said you were a former counselor. When I was up there, I was a what they call a senior elder, but I'm gonna say, for lack of better terms, basically a mentor. I was in charge of the rest of the mentors, quote unquote. I remember when I was on 20 side, I got moved from 10 side to 20 side because they said I had too much influence over here. They moved me over here, and there was, shout out to the young I hear in the background. But I remember when I got moved to 20 building, one of the youngins over there ended up he had took somebody's medication.
Wow, yeah, I remember that.
He started losing his. He had been up. Some of the guys in the pod had woke me up. When they woke me up, they said, they were like, "Hey, this guy's kind of out of it. He's saying he thinks everybody's gonna kill him. He's standing over people's beds." And this was going on like 2:30, 3 in the morning. We were telling the COs, they were laughing at us. Breakfast came, he was still super paranoid. We were telling the COs, they were like, "Oh, it's all good." He's standing around. He was walking around, but he had a psychological snap. And finally, I don't know if you had just came over there, or I went over there, or somebody went over there. I don't know what happened, but I remember at some point it was me, you, and probably 3 or 4 of the guys. We were walking down the boulevard to go get this guy because we knew something bad was going to happen. And the COs were making jokes, talking about, "Oh, y'all the squad." And they had no idea. They thought it was, and came to find out this guy was in trouble.
Really?
And he stayed. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that, man. Y'all, what killed me was his partners came over and they were real honest with me. They like, "Hankins, look, man, I'm gonna tell you, he did some drugs. We don't know what it was, but man, this guy acting real crazy, man. He up at the mess hall, and we afraid he gonna do something to himself or somebody." And so we walked up there and we got him. And what really made me know was he asked me he said, "Come on, man, let's go play some basketball." I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean? I'm a counselor. You know, I can't play basketball on the yard, right?
Yeah.
But I told him, I said, "Yeah, come on, man. Yeah, we'll play some basketball. Let's go back to the building." And I convinced the nurse that she needed to come look at this guy because he wasn't right. And we sat with him and they took him. He ended up in, what's that place? Way up there in the mountains, man. I don't think he ever got right. I checked on him for like about a year. And I don't think he ever got right, man. So, yeah, I remember that. You know, and that's one of the things, man, that I found kind of depressing about I'm not talking about the offender side, but I'm talking about the staff side of working in that particular environment, man. You know, you gotta care. You know what I mean? You gotta care. We was talking and I was telling you that one thing I dislike the most is because it was all about numbers. Man, how you put a number on a life? You know what I mean? How do you put a number on a life? You know what I mean? I don't care if just one person make it. If he make it, then it was worth my effort. You know what I mean? And yeah, that was one of the many situations there that I remember that could have went south, man. But y'all saved the brother's life. Only thing I did was walk with y'all. It wouldn't have been for y'all being concerned. Man, I don't know what would have happened.
That was an ugly situation, man.
Yeah,
but
man, really.
I think like you and I had 1,000 conversations before then. There was a level of respect, but I think that day, when, for lack of better terms, you basically said, "Fuck what security talking about." I know he's in trouble. And what I seen right there was a brother or whatever, father, whatever. A bunch of us seen it, and that's when things shifted. You know what I'm saying? And it was crazy because I'm just thinking about the counselors, security, everybody that's within those walls is supposed to be, especially because it's a level 2, is supposed to really care about things like reentry, a person's welfare, their mental well-being, stuff like that. And it really wasn't like that. It was few and far of y'all. And before we go into it, another thing that me and another brother had recently said, those of you that care, y'all didn't last long. It was either burned out, they got y'all, it was something going on, and we kept looking up, and they replaced y'all with somebody that was not in tune, not in touch with the people.
Yeah, that's what it was. Will, it was like it was all that was being driven by one person.
Yeah.
And I don't care how good you see. If you only one person, you only got one perspective. Period. There's no way you can have all the different perspectives that you need to have to get engaged. You know, I could be with you, you could work with me, I could be there on the pod with you every day for 6 months. And I say, well, this guy should, fit in this position. And I could have somebody come in that's only there for maybe 2 days out of every 3 months. Mm-hmm. And they could say, no. And that was the end of that. You know what I mean? So it wasn't, I've worked other programs. I've worked in other places. I started reentry years ago in the adolescent unit in Chicago. And it was for substance abusers. You know what I mean? So most of them weren't even substance abusers. They were just, guys that were getting caught up on the streets selling bags and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I knew it worked. Thinking for a Change is old, but it was new here. You know what I mean? And the guy who was really in charge knew, but other people didn't know. You know what I mean? So here I come, and I still tell anybody, and I came up here for my first time ever wearing a uniform. I started out in Sussex too, in a uniform as an officer. And I came to St. Bride's as a property officer and SEG officer. You know what I mean? And I probably should have stayed officer, but I have this love for reentry. I know people can change. I know. Yeah. I've seen it. I've done it in my own life, but I've seen it many, many times. And what I know from my experience is everybody ain't gonna change. You know what I mean? So, it's impossible. I remember one time, and I just shared this with you. We talked about I worked this adolescent program, and I took the police off the unit. When I took over, I became a coordinator of the unit. We had one little security guy who's sitting in front. I'm like, man, get rid of the security guys. So we try and get people to think about living outside of prison. We can't keep them feeling like they're in prison. And every day they go up there to eat breakfast. We had a big old window. There he sit. You know what I mean? So we got rid of it, and I was scared to death, man, because I said, everybody, these kids gonna run. They gonna run. And some did, you know what I mean?
No question. I was gonna say, I know somebody tried.
Yeah, some of them did, but the ones that stayed behind educated the ones that came after, and eventually running wasn't even part of it. I remember one time in a staff meeting, I was talking about something similar to that, and I said, well, we're going to do reentry. These guys should dress differently. Get them out the prison stuff. Let them wear khakis and like a cardigan shirt or something. You know what I mean?
I remember you kept mentioning that, like let guys get used to get reacclimated before they get out there and thrown into.
Who don't put on a good suit, a nice suit of clothes, don't act different? Yeah. Who don't?
When I walked out the gates, before that, when I was able to get in that bathroom and put on some clothes,
don't you feel different?
They ain't even fit. My family tribe. They ain't even fit right. I ain't even care. I felt like $1 million. So I was out in prison.
Just a little simple thing, but you can't. What I learned, and I learned this from a guy. He's like my mentor. He's in New York. He works in New York State Prison now. But he was the one that worked with me when I was out there struggling in the street. And what I learned was, man, you got to work inward out, but you got to let them see something. You know what I mean? When you see that you progressing, it makes you try harder.
Right.
You know what I mean? if you don't see no progress, I don't care. You could be doing everything right, but if you don't see no progress, it loses its value. You know what I mean? So, like I said, just make them feel different. The entry, make them feel different. You can't be scared to make them kind of changes.
Let me ask you a question, because you mentioned it, and we were having a conversation earlier, me and another guy. You said everybody won't make the change, or everybody won't get it, or everybody can't be saved. Something along the lines of that. Do you remember, like, was there ever a moment where somebody didn't make it? Because I remember when I was up there, there was one year in particular. I think we were having a conversation about possibly putting a count up in reentry about how many guys had went home and lost their life, because we wanted guys because the numbers were so high. And it was crazy. The only reason I knew the numbers were so high was because I worked with the counselors every day and a unit. So I would hear but for everybody else, they weren't really. They would hear somebody pass, but they're focused on going home. But man, them numbers were getting high. I remember one guy, and I'm not going to get too far in the story, or let's say his name, but he had beat cancer, went home, and ended up overdosing.
Probably, yeah, I know. I can't think of his name, but I know.
His name was Jordan.
Yeah,
and I remember he had cancer in his foot. He had beat cancer. Everybody was happy, but he went home and he couldn't overcome, what a lot of guys battle, the addiction and everything. And that was one of the ones that hit me. Do you remember anything like that might have hit you?
Oh yeah, we remember we had the one guy. He was I don't know what his. I think he had a high position in the housing unit. He got out. I seen him at a Norfolk State game. Man, he was looking good, and then he overdosed in Richmond. I can't think of his name, but he overdosed in Richmond.
Right.
And that's good I don't, because I remember I used to remember them names. You know what I mean? And it was heartbreaking, man. It's like I say, everybody ain't gonna get it, but you got to do your best to give it. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, like for me, in my struggles, I remember this one institution, I was in and out so much they were gonna put my name on the unit, right? And one day I made it, and then turned around, a few years later, and I ended up running the place. You know what I mean? Running the place. And then the first person I hired in a senior position was my old counsel. And it's just, sometimes they get a little bit, and then they go out, and then they get a little bit more, and they go out. But some of them go out and don't make it back. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think
Sabir, I don't want to cut you up, but Sabir said the name of the gentleman you was talking about was Flem. And what's crazy is Flem, I didn't even know he passed. And that was a guy I used to talk to.
Yeah, man.
I was on Greensville with him, matter of fact. And I think he came to St. Bride's.
That's why I kept saying, you can't fake it till you make it, man. I remember that was the cliche back in, at least at St. Bride. And I'm like, where that come from? I've been a fake, fraud, and phony all my life. And the only thing it led me to was institutions. Why would I continue to be a fake and a phony? You know what I mean? Because this is real, man. It's about life, man. As evidenced by yourself. I gotta share this with you, man. I'm so proud of the things you and some other brothers I know did. But y'all was lucky because y'all came in and y'all bonded and y'all had a foundation. And so the little bit you could get, you got just enhanced what you already had.
Yeah.
The biggest joke that they have here, or they had back then, was rehabilitation. Some guys you couldn't rehabilitate because they had never been habilitated. Some guys never knew about how to make a bed. You know what I mean? Some guys didn't know how to do that. How to fold your clothes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, rehabilitation don't apply to everybody. And so you have to be in a program where you can, a program has to be flexible, but it can't be afraid to take chances. You know what I mean? I've seen so many people, I worried, if you don't mind me sharing this about you, I remember an issue about who your wife was. You know what I mean? And it what kills me, and I can say this now because I'm not working there, but what killed me is how you take something, you were doing like wonderful things, right? Great things, man. We were moving forward, right? How you take the incident in the way back here and just drown out what you've already done? Everybody in life that is successful started out with some struggle. Yeah. Everybody.
You know what used to trip? You know what tripped me out though? I didn't understand how they could see that in any other way than what it was. Two people that ended up hitting it off.
And look at you now.
Yeah, well, I'm that's not my wife. I got to say that, but
I know what you're saying.
But I am married. I ended up marrying my wife for 3 years. We can celebrate. But as far as her, Asian, I can talk about her. When I say she's one of my best friends to this day, I'm talking about earlier today on the phone. To this day, got my back, I got hers. And what was crazy about that situation was a lot of times people became so robotic and they thought that their man-made laws could overcome nature. And two people, it's just like you and I. You were a counselor, I was a prisoner, but we had conversations like friends sometimes. And it's no difference, but man, we got a bunch of, he said he was my dude. Yeah. He was just commenting about Flim. Yeah. But yeah, man, I wanted to touch a little bit more on that. I remember because I had that track record, because I had that relationship when I was on Greensville with a female staff member and we like still rocking and all that. I remember that followed me around. And that's why I had got moved from one program side to the other. And it was like, no matter what. But at the end of the day, I think I just treated people with respect. And I was able to have conversations with people. And when I brought our perspective to y'all, I think because it was like common ground and you knew it was coming from a good place, you were like, yo, let's try it out. Freddie would do the same thing. Grissett, countless other, whoever had a voice. And I think that's all it was. But like you said, we all had these certain things that followed us. And then for the counselors, if y'all were too friendly, then it was fraternization or he bringing in the sack or he doing this or something going on. And that was the crazy thing because I remember looking up at it all and I'm like, do you want us to bridge the gap and communicate so we can start solving problems?
There you go. Are you or aren't you? But see, like I said before, it takes some courage. Because this look, what we were supposed to do, with what we were supposed to be doing there works. It really do. It's based on all the data. That's the way you do it. But you can't do it and have one hand behind your back. You know what I mean? You can't do it, man, and be afraid of the what ifs. Because in life, there's always what ifs. You know what I mean? I face what ifs every day. What if I don't do this? That might happen? What if, man, will take you out the box? You know what I'm saying? So that program, like I said, it's a good program. It's just the people. And then, like I said, one person, that was used to kill me. One person, you know what I mean, could just make all the decisions for not just St. Bride, but I'm talking about everywhere. I mean, that don't make sense, man. Suppose that one person is wrong. Who hasn't been wrong? I've been wrong many times. You know what I mean? Who hasn't been wrong? So, it wasn't, that was the biggest problem for me. You know what I mean? That was the biggest problem. I remember did I tell you? I don't think I told you this. I got investigated for being in a gang. Man, I'm 68 years old. I was like 50 something then, maybe. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But that happened a lot too, though. It's like a lot of y'all next thing, he this, he that, like she this, she that, just because like it was a crazy thing.
And then, I had a cool warden. I won't call his name, but let me know what was going on, and I knew how to respond. But the truth of the matter is, man, if your past can help somebody, you can take. I'm into church real now. You know what I mean? I'm in church strongly, man. And I've been reading about Saul. and Paul. That's in the Bible. You know what I mean? And Saul was killing up a bunch of folks. Then he, he got converted, right?
Yeah.
And then he began praying and teaching other people about religion. Now, he would not have been able to do that if people would just hold on to the old person. You know what I mean? Reentry is not about the past. It's about your future. You know, it's about living life free, outside of the walls, being a productive member in your community, being able to reach out and keep these young folks from making the mistakes you made. That's what reentry is about.
Can you speak on this? Is this a myth or not? Or do you know? Maybe you don't know. I don't know. Guys used to always ask, I don't know. I'm locked up like y'all at the time. But they used to ask me, or the rumor was going around that reentry was federally funded.
It is.
Is it? Okay.
So but what's wrong with that? You got to get money from somewhere.
Right. But what would, I'm just saying, because when I look at reentry, I'm trying to figure out what did the expenses go to? Like, what did the money get spent on? Because all I seen was, as far as we'll just say, dry erase board, 2 laptops, some plastic chairs, and I can only imagine what was getting pumped as far as dollar-wise into that. I don't know.
Man, here, I don't know where the money went, but I know, I'll give you a good example, and I'm not, it has nothing to do with me. My son, my son spent a lot of time in prison up in Milwaukee, right? Now, when my son came home, he came here to me, came to live with me, and I'm running. I don't know if I was a treatment officer then or something, but I was in reentry, right? But anyway, I'm like, man, I'm gonna get this boy a job. So I decided I was gonna put him in a van. Now I had a truck, so I bought me a new car. I was gonna give him the truck, and I was gonna start him a lawn care business, right? And he came home. He had a business plan already written out. He had everything he needed to start the business he has now, which is a trucking business. You know what I mean? Right now he got 3 semis running across, the state.
I already know.
He was so prepared, man. You know what I mean? It pissed me off because I had got here and kind of fell behind the wheel too, because once I left Chicago, I was on point. But when I got here, it was so dry. A lot of stuff I forgot. You know what I mean? I forgot even about, right? And but I looked at him, man, and he said he got that from his reentry unit. I mean, he came home, he had a business plan, everything. He said, Dad, I need to do this. Just hold me down for 6 months, and I got this. You know what I mean? And now he got me. You know what I mean?
Right.
What you need,
that's what's up. You know what's crazy? When I left St. Bride's, I got sent. No, I put in for transfer that time. They said I could never go to a level 1. I ended up getting sent to Camp 17. It was a level 1. And it was shell shock because I didn't want to be locked up, period. You know what I'm saying? But when I got to level 1, there was no reentry at all. And it was the weirdest thing to me because I was like, why is there no reentry? And these guys are all getting ready to go home. And then I got sent from there. This time I got kicked. I was beating all the charges up there. They tried to ship me 2 days. I got married while I was in the system too. And they tried to ship me 2 days before I got married because I was beating the charges up there as inmate advisor because I knew policy and all that. And they sent me to Camp, Nottoway Work Center. And Nottoway Work Center was even worse. There was like no program. There was nothing. It was just straight work. And when you talk, you talking, I'm just thinking about a couple of different things. You're talking about how some people got a foundation, some people prepared, some people aren't. When you look at reentry, I wish that reentry could have did a better job from my perspective of catching the guys, identifying the guys that needed certain attention, like mental health services, because he's probably going to come back to prison, but it's not because he really wants, it's because he's dealing with some sort of mental illness, which we know they said easily penitentiary is over 70% either diagnosed or undiagnosed, suffer from some sort of mental illness. And then I think like if there was more attention to the youth. There were certain young guys that were obviously, man, they were high risk. They were like high level. They needed a certain level of attention that might have not, they could not have gotten where they were at the time. It's just too many people, the way the program was set up. But I just look at that and I just wonder how that would have translated into preventing some of those guys from losing their lives, man.
Man, you know, that's right. Do you remember the young guy? I think he was in 320, and he was ADHD all day long. I mean, he would bounce off the walls. I mean, he was the poster child for ADHD, but we couldn't give him his medication. You know what kind of sense that makes? You know what I mean? Now, you know, he needs. So of course, when he got in reentry, he was collecting charges. How you gonna keep him? You know what I mean? And what made me, what I just could not understand for the sake of God is, okay, all right, the rules are the rule. We can't give him medication, right? Then what can we? Why sit there and just continue to bombard him with charges? Why not try to figure out what you can give him that will prevent him from doing the things he was doing? You know what I mean? Because he wasn't like beating up nobody and none of that stuff. But you know, he was ADHD.
I'm gonna tell you something, Hank. I spoke about this on the podcast. The other side of that, I got diagnosed with mental health. I want to say mental illness, but officially I got diagnosed when I was in the military and I was 18. The whole time I was locked up, I was off. I'm gonna be, hey man, Freddie will tell you that all them elders, it was not harmonious because each and every one of them guys, I swear, I done got into it with. I remember getting into it with a couple of the staff members. But I say all that to say I would have sought mental health help up there, just therapy. I go to therapy now once a week. That's basic. That's pretty much all I need. I don't take medicine, nothing like that. But if you need medicine, I feel like you should take it. But the reason I didn't pursue certain things that were supposedly available up there is because I just thought it was a joke. Like mental health and reentry. You know, no harm and disrespect to whoever held that position, but that wasn't mental health.
No,
you know, and these are the things I feel like reentry. I got why they did a lot of what they did. I got the standing in front of people and communicating. I got learning new words because you were cut off from the world and probably had different conversation while you were locked up. I understood a lot of the things that maybe a lot of guys didn't. But I just didn't get why there was not more attention put towards certain things like financial literacy. I feel like so much of reentry could have been because so many guys get locked up behind financial issues. Even if they get money, they don't know how to keep it. They don't know so I just wondered about those things. And it's crazy because guys like you probably could have came in, ran reentry and changed the whole makeup of it. Listen to guys like us, but they would have never put you up there.
Yeah, but like I said, the people, man, reentry was messed up at the top, and anytime something don't work, it trickles down to the bottom. You know what I mean? And like I said, it's. I know for a fact I'm only one individual. So I have to be receptive to the ideas, thoughts, and opinions of other people, or else I become blindsided and I become one-dimensional. You know what I mean? And life is not designed like that. And, when you got a person and they just, flexing their muscles and they got everybody under them afraid to, share new ideas or come up, voice their opinions, then it's doomed. It's bound to fail. Because one person can't affect the lives of how many people we had in the building. You know what I mean?
Was it in each pod, I think? 396 in the building?
Right. One person, come on, man.
That's a lot of anxiety in one building.
Right. You know what I mean? And I tell you another thing that I thought was a big joke. You know what I mean? We go on lock, and they want the counselor to serve trays. Man, when you got 90-something people locked up in one room,
hungry,
right? You need counselors in there to help keep that stuff, to sort through things. Because that's when you're going to really see the real people come out. You know what I mean? When adversity brings out the real person, they want the people who's there to supposed to help people do. It was just too crazy, man. You know what I mean? And it wasn't even about being lazy. It was about what was right. You know what I mean? Treatment officers, that was a joke. You know what I mean? You got treatment officers. First of all, then don't let them wear a uniform. Because if they wear a uniform, what y'all see them as? Officers. Treatment officers. You know, if you gonna put them in clothes, let them so they can walk through, so they can, look the part of a therapeutic person. I mean, it's just so many different things that may look little, and it did look little, I guess, to the people in power to make those type of changes. But somebody who knows, it's like, I used to shake my head every day. I used to hate coming in to work sometimes because I knew my day was not going to be designed toward making a difference. My day was going to be designed toward pleasing somebody in Richmond, by what I say and what I do. And it can't work. Right. It wasn't going to work that way. And I'm not a phony. Traditionally, I'm not a phony person. There were some times I was in St. Bride's, I know I was phony. Because I found myself sometimes agreeing with some stuff I knew wasn't supposed to be, right? You know what I mean?
I think we all, if you're working for somebody else, I think if everybody's honest, they're gonna experience a moment like that. Because you just gotta go. Sometimes you're like, I'm gonna go with this because I don't even want to deal with the headache. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Man, I tried to get Everett over there. I don't know if you knew that. I tried to get Everett over there, right? And I had them telling me, basically they were like, well, we need him in security and woo. And I'm like, man, 310, 320. These are the guys who are supposedly the older guys in the institution. They've been there the longest. They well, especially at that time, we had all the connections, the gangs and all that stuff, right? And I say, man, you need to have somebody over there that you guys would respect and understand. And I say, the people you talking about doing it, they don't respect them. They're fearful of them. That's the difference. Yeah. If you respect somebody, you willing to listen. If you fearful of them, you trying not to get caught.
They had some antagonizers up there. It just made no sense. Like you're in reentry and you're security and you're stirring up the hornet's nest. And Everett, me and him had spoke about when he was up here. He was a peacekeeper because one time there was a riot was about to pop off on 20B, and I was with my guys. It's not that I wanted to riot, but if you've been in penitentiary, you know how this goes. If everybody going and then they looking at me in a certain way, and when Everett came through the door, we just walked to each other. Everybody stayed where they stayed. We talked, and then it just eased out the tension. But had it been somebody else, Claude, I say some name, but certain individuals come in there, man. It would escalate. It's like they wanted it to escalate, and that was the scary thing for guys that were trying to get home and just stay out the way and just, what I'm saying, maneuver to the release date. But there was moments where you had certain COs that would come into a reentry dorm where guys are supposed to be decompressing, getting reacclimated, and the CO will come in there and write 20, 30 charges. I've seen some. I never understood it.
It didn't make sense, and it's like I said before. I used to try to say this in staff meeting. I used to say this in staff meeting and hope that people would hear what I'm saying, and it didn't. But the truth of the matter is, man, these people go. I see all y'all here. Well, not you so much because you in Atlanta, but almost anybody in Norfolk I done ran into. You know what I mean? These people these are your neighbors, man. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's important. It's important. It's got to be important to staff. It got to be important to the wardens. It's got to be important to the people who are making the policies and getting the money from the governor. It's got to be important because these people, who can decide? Man, they just had somebody move next door to my house. You know what I mean? It wasn't vacant for 3 months. I didn't get to pick and choose who that man sold that house to. You know what I mean? So, hopefully he's a good guy, but, he'll have a better chance if he's been trained to be a good guy. You know what I mean? So I don't know,
we've been
man.
going
It's like
things like that here.
yeah, but I really appreciated the experience. Today I work with special needs adults. These are men, women, particularly the ones I'm working with. ADHD or whatever they got, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's been rewarding. Last year, I started a home health care business. I really haven't been doing a lot with it. I ain't did a lot that I could do with it. But it's been good, man. Got both my son and my daughter living with me, a 16-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter. Don't go out there, y'all.
How old are you again?
I'm 68. Yeah. No, that mean don't look. My math skills don't work.
You from Chicago, ain't you? What side of the city you from?
South side. Look, but you know what? Good though, man. My kids, like my son, we have our little struggle. We've been talking about bullying. He goes to a high school here, right? We've been talking about not getting bullying, and we've talking about the thing. He got his own little car outside, which he don't even drive because he don't want to mess around and get his license. I refuse to let him go out there and go to jail. Got a motorcycle in the garage, you know what I mean? And all these wonderful things that, I've been able to provide for him. But I keep telling him, and we were talking today. Now, his brother, my oldest son, he like me. In fact, he worse than me. You know what I mean? And I was telling him, I said, the truth of the matter is you'll never be a person in the street. That's not your mentality. That's not who you is. That's not who my son is, man. He good boy. You know what I mean? No problem. This, that,
it's
another.
Okay to be that too, man. It's like it's okay to be that.
Yeah,
because
the
guys like me that didn't want to be that, we ended up getting hit, and now we ended up being like that. Wanted to be like that when we got hit. So save the time. Save yourself the time and the headache, and just stay how we all want to be.
But like I told you, now you gotta be who you are. See, when you are who you are, you know who you're not. You know what I mean? And like I was telling, I said, you ain't a street person. I said, and the truth of the matter is, even if tomorrow you decide you want to be a street person, I ain't gonna let you. Right. You know what I mean? So you need to go spend more time hitting them books, you know what I mean, and go to college, and decide what you want to do with your life, because street person, that's not who you are. So don't be walking around here acting like a street person, because you're not. I think everybody is reachable. The things that I worry about, particularly those that's behind the gate, is those kids that don't have the foundation. Because see, the way the prison is set up is, and the way reentry in the prison is set up, it's designed for them to fail. It's like they left behind. You know what I mean? Nobody cares about them. I remember one time we were talking about people should go to get them their GED. Remember we were talking about that in St. Brian. If you ain't got no high school diploma, when the hell else you got more important than getting your GED? I mean, because other than that, only thing you doing is playing on the yard, eating in the chow hall, right? Go to the gym when they let you.
But it was crazy.
Make them get their GED. Send them to school. Nah, you ain't make them. Why not?
Should have, though.
Yeah, when I was a young man, they made me. I got a GED. I never went to high school. Not one day. And then I went to college afterwards, but I never sat in high school one day except for when I went up there to start some stuff or play some cards in the lunchroom. And the sock hops.
He said the sock hops.
Yeah,
you have to, in a situation like that, at times you have to enforce certain things like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got to help. You've got to kind of force people to at least start the process of doing something good for themselves, because you hit it on the head. A lot of us don't understand the concept of a high school diploma or a GED because we never had one. A lot of us don't understand the concept of credit because nobody ever was taught it. So you kind of do got to enforce certain things. One of the things they enforced on us while I was locked up, one of the biggest changes, when I first came in the system and started doing my time, you would get sent home with $25 and a bus ticket, and they didn't care where you land. By the time I was getting ready to come home, They made you get your driver's license, your social security card, your birth certificate, save $1,000, and they made sure you had an address. You know what I'm saying? But guys would still be mad about that. They was mad that they was making us save $1,000. They was mad that we had to get a driver's license, but you're gonna have to get it anyway. Why not do it now while you locked up and you got the time? Was always my conversation. Yo, let's do it now because you ain't gonna want to run around. You know what I'm saying?
I was the property officer, and I was taking this guy home, and I was taking him to Newport News. He was going to a halfway house. I had to take him to Newport News probation, right? In fact, I was still okay. I was a counselor, but I was taking him home. I was driving him that day, and he was sitting in the back. And I'm like, oh man, why you so quiet? Why you so, why you ain't happy? You out now, man. He said something that was so profound, man. He said, everything I own is in this box. I said, oh man, it'll be all right. I'm trying to talk to him. I said, it'll be all right, man. You just, do you now, Man, we pulled up into this vacant lot. That's the address they gave me. Wasn't no building there. That man looked in the window. I looked in the rearview window, and he was like, you know what I mean? And I said, hold up, man, hold up. We'll find out where it's at. But I know he like, there, I got a box and a vacant lot. You got to grab. We had to grab them ones, man. Like I say, make them kids, if you ain't got a high school diploma and you don't have any other skill, then you're going to resort back to the skill you have. Everybody I know used to eating, myself included. And I was telling my son, I said, look, man, if I lost my business and everything else went down the tubes, I know there's some things I can do out in the street to get me some money. You know what I mean? Because I got to eat. You got to eat. You know what I mean? The object is to put people in a situation where they don't have to do them things.
Right.
You can't sit back and just watch them. That was used to hurt so bad. You sit back and you watch a guy, and the only thing he's doing is he's sitting there, he's doing time. That's all he's doing. He's just doing time.
We used to call him a walking dead.
Yeah, that's sad, man. So
you know what was worse? I think one of the worst things I've seen in reentry as it was the guys that were indigent, that they didn't have nobody, nothing. They didn't have anybody that could, send them, money for hygiene. Like that was really, I always wondered about those guys. You actually got a question from Siberia. He says, yo, Hank, do you remember Baracus? I do.
Yeah, I remember Baracus.
Loud guy from New York, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
I wonder what happened to Baracus, man.
I don't know. Sometimes
some of the guys, I wonder, man. And I'm down here in Atlanta.
Leland here he got like a headlight business. I know that much. I think he was married, or I don't know. His girl is a friend of mine. She got a hair salon.
So he's doing all right then.
Yeah. I haven't talked to him in a while. I haven't talked to McCrae in quite a while. I used to keep up with his brother, but I haven't done that. I don't know. I think I was doing good before the pandemic. The pandemic kind of, I had a client living in the house then, and he had my hands full. He was a big guy, and the pandemic, I couldn't let him go out. You know what I mean? Because I didn't want nothing to happen to him. When he did go out, I was with him. So.
Right. I came home January 13th of 2020, and all hell broke loose. Wow. So I don't even know if there was anything that could have prepared me for that. I remember in December, guys was falling out in the dorm. They quarantined us, and then I came home, and I'm working in the middle of a pandemic, and they hollering lockdown. I just came from lockdown and came into a new lockdown, but Atlanta didn't lock down. We don't lock down in Atlanta.
Well, everybody was. I keep telling people, I think it helped me out, and my business is still about the same. I was doing okay then, I'm doing okay now. But where it did help me was it forced me to look at something other than this. You know, it forced me to, and I'm, like I said, I'm more into church now. I believe in church. You know what I mean? I sometimes want to get on myself because I wasted so much time doing the things I do today. But, you know, it is what it is. So it's been good, man. You know, I say business is always good. Like I said, we're about to open up another group home. My thing is I'm trying to get my son and my daughter-in-law off the road. You know, they got all these trucks, you know, and I'm trying to get them high drivers. Y'all stay home so I can go sit on the beach somewhere.
Get that passive income going.
Yeah, you know, oh yeah, they got it. I mean, but it's good. And the other thing I want to say real quick before we get off the line, it's important that people that's in behind the walls before they get out, get a relationship, get somebody out on the outside to be there waiting on you to help guide you through the process. You know what I mean? I think it's a lot easier, man, when you got help. You know, I appreciate my son. You know, like I said, I had made up a plan of everything for him because I'm mystery entry. You know what I mean? But he came here, he had his own plan. You know what I mean? So instead, I had to change gears and become a helper. You know what I mean? He didn't need an advisor. He already knew he wanted. You know what I mean? So my job was just to help. You know what I mean? It's good, man. You know, I can't even remember a couple of times him having to go talk to the probation officer. You know, and he was, you know, big time stuff. And I think he just got off probation this year. So he was on there, probably 10 years, 7 years, something like that. But I remember when he first got the first truck, he like, Dad, they ain't gonna let me go out of town. I said, yeah, they will, man. Just, you know, keep, you just got to let them know, you know, you got a truck and, you know.
Yeah, you grinding.
And he did that, man. He did that. And like I said, he got finally off of paper. And I'm glad, you know what I mean? But he had help, you know what I mean? You know, and a lot of guys, man, like you said, especially some guys that ain't got nobody.
Yeah.
You know, they got to find somebody.
Whether you're locked up or not, you need help. Yeah. I don't know anybody, whether you've ever been locked up or not, that didn't need help. And that's the bottom line. Like, don't come home thinking you don't. And if you've never been locked up, don't think you don't need. Everybody needs it, man.
So much changes, man.
Man, it's ridiculous. I don't know. People think I've been, first of all, people don't think I've ever been locked up. And then when I do tell them, they think I only did like 2 years. And then they think I've been home for 30. And no, I got to tell people, it's just that I came home with a different type mentality. Because the other side I would say is I know guys that had plenty of help. But really, for me, the key component is your mind state. You can have all the help in the world, but if your mind ain't right, that help ain't going. It's gonna be meaningless, man.
I say go after it the way you went after it in the street, or maybe you need to go after it harder than you did in the street because in the street got you where you at. So
transferable skills.
Yeah.
You know? What's I lead this time, man, to just for our guests to say anything they want to say to the world, lesson, message, business, anything that you just want to know. This is your time, man. We said a lot, but we could have said so much more, but I want to designate this time for whatever message. Could have been anything we touched on or not tonight.
Well, the only thing I really say is, you know, like they say, each one teach one. We all have to get better. I know I have to get better at reaching back. And then keeping remembering that it was somebody that reached back for you. You know what I mean? So it's not like you going out your way to do anything special. You're just paying back what's already given to you. And stop killing each other, man. I think that's the biggest thing. Stop killing each other. You know what I mean? It was a part, and I say this real quick, a part of Thinking for a Change when he talked about, you know, people should lock guns up. You know, get gun locks and all that stuff to protect kids so the kids don't find their weapons. And I understand it, and I wish that's true. But the truth of the matter is, if you living in a real dangerous neighborhood where people are subject to knock your door down in the middle of the night and take your life, you ain't gonna be looking for no key to no lock. that's just reality. You know what I mean? So, you know, you have to come up with a different game plan to protect your children. And don't think you're the only one, because I have to protect mine too. You know what I mean?
Right.
But, you know, it's like, you know, just stop killing each other, man. It's too much senseless killing, especially at home, Will. At home. And the thing is, years ago, me and some friends of mine, we used to be able to go home and stop a lot of that stuff. And nowadays, the way things are, it's got to burn itself out. It's not going to stop. You know what I mean? You can't go in there and talk to a group of people and get things to change. It's just going to have to burn itself out. And the sad thing about it, I mean, a lot of people are going to lose their life needlessly. Yeah. But I thank you, man. And I appreciate what you're doing. And I'm going to keep popping in, man. You know, some days I can't stay long, but I'm going to pop in and out. And just keep doing what you're doing, man. And brothers on the line, y'all support him, because if you don't support him, you know, somebody got to support you.
Yeah, indeed.
You know what I mean? And the way it works is we support each other. And then your turn sooner or later come around, and it'll be our turn to support you.
That's it.
Well, thank you anyway, man.
Definitely, man. Salute to you. Definitely appreciate you getting up here, having some real conversation, giving some real perspective. This was a first, you know, as far as having a former counselor up here. So that was dope. We got a Chicago panel coming soon, too. I've already had 2 of the brothers from back home. I got 2 more getting up here, too, man. So you might want to get involved in that.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about the purge law, quote unquote, back home, crime interrupters, gang violence. We're going to get into it. So, yeah.
I wish you don't say nothing about purge here. I mean, we don't want that in Virginia.
Man. Hey, Atlanta, anybody that's paying attention to Atlanta, all I'm saying is it's crazy down here. It looks like the Wild Wild. It's the Wild Wild West. And you know what? I'm going to say this too, just so everybody knows. If you are a convicted felon, it does not matter if you've had a murder charge. You can get your gun rights back. You can carry. Right. You might 9 times out of 10, even if you're on probation, you're already on the approved list. You just need to get off probation and file the necessary paperwork with the courts, because a bunch of us that are coming home as convicted felons, some guys that got murder charges, etc., they got their firearms legally, paperworked up. So be smart about it if you're going to go that route. So I definitely wanted to say that. Somebody asked me to put that out there. You can go
and
legal
vote.
route.
And vote if you can vote.
Vote. And if you're in Atlanta, the most monumental vote elections this year about to pop off. So definitely pay attention to what's going on, because it's about to go down. Real quick side note before I go, I came home. I was protesting out the CNN building for George Floyd. I came out here straight in the midst of it, but I'm glad I did. I caught some moments I feel like they're definitely going to talk about in the history books, because we've all been affected through these years. But yeah, salute to you, man. Peace, love, and blessings to anybody that tuned in. As always, man, so grateful you could be anywhere, but you decided to be here. Don't forget to like, share, hit the notification bell. Most importantly, subscribe so you know when we go live, and a whole lot more content coming soon. Battle of the Sexes panel coming soon. Shout out to Miss Monique, T Spills, your girl MJ, Bars. Everybody else is getting on board with that. And of course, if you want to get up here on the podcast, don't forget to DM, hit my IG, or you can email clwillers@gmail.com. And that's it, man. Peace, love, and blessings. Till next time, y'all stay focused, but most importantly, stay free.
Amen.
That's it. We out.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Will.
Appreciate you too, sir. Hey, we need it. We got to get back up here and do this again.
We will, man.
It's a public service announcement, man, from my block to your block. I know it's fast, I know it's hectic, I know you stressed. Ask me how I know though. See, sometimes you just gotta slow it down, man. Just breathe. Where I'm from, they asking what I represent. Got a soldier with me, Lord knows that she heaven sent. I done lost a couple, damn, I wonder where.